Do you feel that there is something about life that you don't understand anymore, that you don't even know your place, especially after a separation and divorce, um, where you are feeling lost? And let me uh, let me share my story with you again, and you will feel. In my other video, I mentioned that you're gonna feel a complete loss of who you are, and you need to basically reinvent yourself again and find yourself again. And this is not by any means supposed to be a painless adventure, by the way. It is not. It's it's brutal, but it's necessary, because your entire meaning that you have created for yourself, and for me, when I did that, um, when that is broken to the pieces that you see in front of you, and you see the pieces all over, then you have no choice but gather all the pieces and put it back together. But the very first thing that I did was to understand why, and that pain was so deep that I needed to know why I'm reacting the way I'm reacting. Like, why this magnitude of emotion that I've never in the 49 years before that ever felt. And I've gone through some hard stuff, by the way. Fled my country at the age of 17, between the age of 8 and 17, severe persecution from where I was born. It was a battle, right? Came to Canada, relearn, face prejudice again here, um, loss of friends in to the war back home, and family members here close throughout the years, including my father. So I had a lot of struggles, and just like everybody else, by the way, I'm no exception to the rule. Um, but this one was something I thought that I was the only one. So when I dug deep to find out why, and through my counselor, and of course reading, as she was suggesting, to start looking at different resources to understand, because I have been an educator for a long time, and she knew that, and she knew that I always loved to learn, and she said, well, you need to go back to classroom, but this time the school of life that I've never ever went to. And I just basically, I just like everybody else, I decided that I knew what I was doing. It's not like somebody gave me a manual of in a relationship at the age of 20 and say, here it is, right? By the way, if you had an experience like that where you were given a manual, or you, just like me, you basically started this life uh, partnering with someone and thinking that, okay, I'm gonna do the best that I can and everything will be okay. Share your story in the comment below. Once I realized that my identity was all that, then this thing just started making sense. But I'm gonna be honest with you, there was a huge resistance. Like, what the hell are you talking about? I was so mad at my counselor, and she would just ask these questions. It's like a fireball coming at me. I could only listen and be furious, and I would just yell and shout, and at one point I respectfully said she had no idea what I was going through and all of that, and she sat with it, and I remember at one point she told me that your emotion, this is real, and you need to get it out, and and that's okay. You need to understand that you're grieving, and this is going to be painful, and it needs to be painful because you are losing who you thought you were. And so I slowly though, every week I had a weekly, the first few weeks it was twice a week I went counseling, and then once a week. And then on top of that, my day and night was all about relearning. And I started focusing on me more in terms of my own life story and what is it that has made me the way I have been. And then once I realized that the depth of that emotion came from this elusive identity that I have built for myself, but I have kept my true self kind of hidden, right? Because I had to play the hero's character in life and the need for that. And I realized that that was overcompensation for something that I was not and could not continue permanently. So when you are in that pain, you're in the middle of it right now, even. Um, I do suggest that you find a good counselor. Um, a good counselor can really direct you to look at some questions. A good counselor asks great questions, questions that may piss you off in a way that never been pissed off before. Okay, really reflective questions, right? And and that's good. That is good. Trust me, that is. And this is where the first part of transformation happens, where you realized why you have been the way you have been, and you have shown up the way you have shown up in this relationship with this person. And you can also do the same thing if you have gone through or going through some major development in your life, not necessarily a relationship, but for example, job loss or health scare or health issues. I went through that in 2010. And that was painful because I had to leave the job that or the path that I was thinking, I was planning, and then that went to hell. And I will make another video on that one. But that was not as painful. That was not as painful. The job thing wasn't as painful. It was basically took me about 6 months, and then I realized the reality of the situation. My doctor basically said, "You can't continue the way you are, and with this job because it's high stress." There's a For me, it was. I was a teacher, then I became an administrator, vice principal, my school for a few years, and then I developed the autoimmune disease, and that was just through stress. And I had to abandon that path, vice principal, then you get into the board office, superintendent, assistant superintendent, the superintendent, and then from that point on, there's unlimited possibilities. I had to abandon all of that. So this identity, and I went through that, by the way. I went through that, oh, if I am not this, well, who am I? If I'm not going through this path that I created for myself, who am I? Anyways, coming back to the relationship, that was the deepest and the most difficult of all transformation I've ever gone through. And 7 years later, almost 7 years, not quite, I can tell you that I am now very aware of my complexities, and I'm not allowing it to control my life anymore. I'm not going to allow that for sure. And that was the amazing thing that I have come to realization. There's a catch to that. And that is, if I let my guards down, I can fall back into that original programming, the original identity, right? And it is very true. So I have to be aware, and that awareness, I have learned that that awareness is a key, so that I am not falling back into that original programming. Okay, so that's the catch. The complexes are always there. I'm not healed. I'm not cured of my past. It's just that I'm not allowing it to control me and to define who I am anymore. I'm not a people pleaser anymore. I'm not a um, I'm not a hero of anyone, of anybody. I don't need to be a hero to anything and anybody. Even for my children, I have let go of that, because with that it comes control, right? That's what that is too. We're going to be careful with that. And all of that is continuously part of who I am becoming more and more. And realizing that if I am showing up without any of those titles, without any of those original built-in identities, okay, just who I am, the way I am, all my good and bad and the complexities, then I can be the best version of me without sounding like a slogan of any kind. But the truth is that I guess I needed the, the sense of acceptance. That's part of it too, right? So I do a good job. I save this person. I continuously solve problems for that person. And they say, thank you, you are amazing, and I feel great. But it's just another mask, right? But I don't need to do that anymore, because I am good with me and I love me. And that's the key right there. And if I feel like doing something, I do it without any expectations of any kind. And my identity is the true identity that I have built for me, and not, it doesn't belong to any of the complexes in the past. And if somebody wants to hang out, wants to share their lives with me, his or her life with me, great. If not, I understand. The truth is, you can also do the work. It's a challenging work. It's not supposed to be an easy work, by the way. If somebody tells you that, just load of crap again. All right. It requires time. You gotta sit with it. You gotta continuously do it, and find a way, find a reason, a compelling reason for that change. Because if you don't find that why, and without sounding philosophical here, you will not do it. It's a promise. You will get into destructive habits, especially when you're going through the separation and divorce. You go from one relationship to another relationship because you think that if you get busy, and by the way, a lot of friends and family members, they mean well, but that's what they usually say. And that's another thing that I think you need to be aware of. A lot of people, close people to you, they mean well, but they don't know what they're talking about, because unless they've done the work, okay, and you know maybe who they are. Being busy, that doesn't do anything, because when you are not busy, it's going to come back again. That inner pain, the feeling of being lost, the feeling of you don't know who you are anymore, and your place in this life anymore, and all of that is going to come back. So you got to be aware that that being busy is not a cure. Okay, it's a temporary relief, just like a pill. That's all about that is. But it's going to come back. And there's a very famous book that this psychologist have written, who is actually himself is a Zen master by the name of John Kabat-Zinn. The book's title is "Wherever You Go, There You Are." So yeah, you're just carrying that baggage with you anywhere you go, unless you deal with it directly. So identity is like that, and the first thing we have to deal with is that complete annihilation of that identity. That, by the way, it happened without you have any say. The person decided to leave in whatever form. The person leaves, and if your identity is attached to that in one form or another, then that's going to create a lot of pain. And you need to figure out why. And once you figure out why, then you can start dealing with that complexities and understand that this is not who you are, and you can change. And I believe, for me, actually, I know, not believe, because belief can be challenged. But this is, for me, I know. I don't need to prove it to anybody. You don't need to prove it to anybody. I know that the most foundational transformation happens through the most deepest pain in our lives. You look at, you lost a job, lost a family member, health scare or health issues that shows up, and then of course separation and divorce. There are a few other ones, but these are the top 4 or 5. And there is this tectonic shift that shows up and completely disorients us in a way that we've never felt before. We question everything. We question life. We question existence of why we are here and why things are the way they are, and what is this all about? You question everything. Share your thoughts and comments below. One step forward, okay? Remember, you can take it 5 minutes at a time, and that's okay, 10 minutes at a time. I have said that before in my last video, that the very first thing I did during the most painful time was that I just told myself that I'm going to make it the next 5 minutes. And then it slowly became 6 minutes. You know, the turn interval went up an hour a day. And then it turned out, gradually became, okay, I'll take it one day at a time. And those times that it was very painful, because the grieving process, it's a kind of a circular. It's not linear. So you feel better, then you feel crappy. Then you feel better, then you feel crappy. But the duration and amplitude of each changes. Okay. So you feel crappy at first for, let's say, 23 hours and 59 minutes. Well, let's face it, the 24 hours of the first few days, maybe few weeks, you feel complete crap. You just like on your knees, and you just don't know, you are broken into pieces. And then slowly, what happened is that 24 hours of feeling that much of a pain becomes only 23 hours and 55 minutes, and then so forth, and then 23 hours. And then, before you know it, in a few weeks' time, maybe into the months, 5 or 6 months, instead of every day you feel like that, maybe you feel like that every second day. And that's those days when you are feeling like that, sit with it. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And you need to acknowledge that, yeah, today I'm going back to grieving again, and I need to grieve. But remember, you're in control. You're in control. That day, the hard days when you show up, your job, my job was to just make it through that day. And I would go for walks, I would go for a hike, I would call a good friend, and try to stay, I beg you, try to stay from any destructive behavior of any kind. It's just not going to help you, okay? If you numb yourself with any of that stuff or distractions that they don't have any meaning, what happened is that the pain is still there because you haven't dealt with the pain. The day that you're in pain, that's the day that you need to feel the pain. And it's okay. You accept it, you verbalize it, and then you let it be. And if you have a loving person around you that is, including a counselor, by the way, that cares for you, then you can share and you can kind of get out that energy and release that energy, and then you make it to next day. All right, stay on track. You'll get there. All right, share comments, thoughts below. Okay, be well.